evening, good morning, or wherever you are in the world, and welcome to Sparkle of Light Spiritual Chat Show. My name is Alice Trevorrow. I'm the founder and producer of the show, and I'm a spiritual psychic medium as well. And tonight, I will also be with our lovely Judith Miller, who's a spiritual physical medium. And we have a lovely guest on this evening that will be very interesting to have a little chat with. His name is Angell Deer. He's a shamanic healer. And he's also a teacher and founder of the Sanctuary. We'll find out a little bit more about the Sanctuary as we bring Angell on and we have a chat with him. He's also an ordained minister, and he's got lots and lots of kind of titles behind him, lots of qualifications as well. But I was kind of having a little read through things as well, and I know that he is the founder of, I think it's the New York Bee Sanctuary. So we'll find out a little bit more about that too. There's heaps and heaps of information about Angell that I would like to just get him onto the show and have a chat with him and find out where his journey started, but also how it can help us and how it can help other people in the world as well, to bring a little bit more calm and peace to ourselves and perhaps our world too. So if I can just bring Angell on and welcome him on as a guest now.
Hello.
Good evening, Angell. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining Judith and I this evening. Now, I probably haven't gave you great credit as to what you do, and so if you can actually just give us a little bit more background information as to what you do and when it all started for you.
So what I do, I guess people call me different names, but to simplify it, I would say I'm a shamanic practitioner and teacher. I run a healing center that is a school of shamanism and ancient wisdom here upstate New York in the Catskills on Lenape territory. And like you mentioned, I'm also the founder and the executive director of the New York Bee Sanctuary, which is a national nonprofit that supports pollinators. I have a book and a few other things, right?
Yes. Yes.
It started,
Yeah.
It's interesting when it started. I guess when I was born, right? I was always very interested into the world of nature and spirit. I always felt very connected to the voices that I could feel from the land, the animals and the trees and the plants. And I got away from that in some ways through my corporate work and working in startups. And 15 years ago, I kind of quit everything and returned to that path. And I met one of my teachers in Peru, in the Andes, in the mountain in Peru. And I started to study Andean cosmology, the ancient teaching of the Andes. And that's been what I've been devoting my life since then.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot there, Judith, isn't there? There's a lot there. Yeah. I was going to also touch on the book as well. So if you've got your book handy, maybe later on you can put your book up and you can share that as well.
It's on the shelf over there. I'll bring it back.
I was actually kind of looking at that the other night, and it looks very interesting. So you say you were in corporate business, so I take it then things got a bit much there. What happened then? Did you just decide I've had enough, or?
It's just that I think, like many people, I followed the path and direction that the system, the family, the culture I was growing up in told me to follow to be happy and to be fulfilled. And I got a PhD. I started my own businesses. I worked for big companies. I was pretty good at it, and that's what brought me from France to UK and then to the US. But at some point, I realized that I had dreams for my life. I had bigger purpose in my life, and I realized that this thing that I was chasing, whatever that is or that was not going to get me there.
Yeah.
I went through a really big, falling apart. It took me years to really understand what that was and learn, and finally really emerged as rebirthed into that path and into that way of life and into that work.
So you teach shamanic. You have a shamanic school, and you were explaining.
Yeah, I've been studied shamanic wisdom through the Andean cosmology lens and medicine wheel for probably close to 15 years now. And, I spent 6 months a year in Peru for over 10 years. And I'm still going to Peru quite often. And I discovered that in this ancient tradition, there was teachings that could help make a good life, a life in alignment with my soul, a life in alignment with the land, the ancestor. That cosmology and those teachings are very grounded. They're really much about this life. And I started to see how I could bring that into my life, experience my transformation, open my healing center. I mean, many things were birthed because I did that.
Yeah.
And people over the years starting to ask me, can you teach that? Can you bring this teaching? And, with the permission of my teachers and deeper study, I started becoming a teacher of those ways.
I've never trained professionally with as a shamanic healer or I'm really into that path, but I've never trained. But what I did discover about the medicine wheel, and I was reading a lot about that, and I was quite interested. And I was sorry about that. I was quite interested, but I was quite shocked because when I do certain meditations, like shamanic meditations, I was meeting these animals in these caves, and there were different directions, and it was coming out, and I was like, that's really interesting that they were Pacific like that. And when I've done my research, it all made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because it goes right, shamanism goes right back, doesn't it?
Yeah, years.
It's probably one of the most ancient spiritual tradition across the world, right? There are obviously different tradition if you go to Russia, if you go to India, if you go to South America, but a lot of those teachings kind of overlap and have a lot of similarities. And then the cultures and the land shape those teachings, and they can be quite different. But yes, there are, it's something that I guess all of us, whatever our ancestry, have a connection to. Yeah.
So for people listening and aren't sure about what the medicine wheel is, could you explain a brief description of what a medicine wheel does and how it helps?
So that's a concept that is, that's the English translation, and it can have, I would say, slightly different names based on the culture. It can also look quite different. I've studied with a lot of Native American teacher too, and it's slightly different when you study with Norse American, Canadian American teachers or Peruvian teachers. But I would say the core elements is that in each direction, cardinal direction, the east, the west, the north, and the south, there are elementals, fire, waters, wind, and earth. There are animals. There are grandmothers and grandfathers, ancestors, elders, teachers that are in there. And when you study it with dedication, you can start opening the doors to that. And that's why, the teacher and the lineage and the connection to land is really important. So it stay very grounded. Because, I think we all have capacity to have visions ultimately. But in order to make sure that we decipher what's correct visions and how to apply those visions to the world, it needs a container. It needs a map. And the medicine wheel is very much of a map. It's very much of a container that allows you to navigate your life through your visions and not be lost in your visions and have a kind of usually messy physical life, a human life that's not very organized because you're too much out of the body and not enough here, right?
Yeah.
In the present, more so in the present.
Mm.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you a little bit about was shamanism. It's not a religion, is that correct?
No, it's not a religion. It's a
Yeah.
spiritual practice, and
Yeah.
people can be Jewish, Catholic,
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
Can have a religion and also practice shamanism. That's very
Practice.
common too. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, and I must say it's something I've been quite interested in for quite some time. And what I had read up about it, I mean, you go back centuries and centuries with this,
Tens of thousands of years, in fact. Yeah.
yeah. And what I was kind of thinking was, if, for instance, I was one of your patients or clients or whatever you would call me to come to you, and I said I wanted to come on one of your retreats, what would I expect on that? Is there different elements of the retreats that you do for like beginners to advanced?
Yeah, I mean, there is, in that vision of the world, in that cosmology, there is no advance. We're all beginners. We're all students. We're constantly learning. But what to expect is to kind of get a first discovery of that map, a first discovery of the fire as a teacher, the waters are a teacher. What are the prayers? What are the animals? What are the vibrations? How does this relate to your body, your emotion, your mind, and your spirit, the full level of what we are, and how to connect that for your healing, your transformation, and your path. So it's such a different map to look at life through those lenses than I would say the Western way of looking at the world, that it's almost like you're changing your glasses and now you're seeing the true colors of life, the true colors of the world. And that allows you as a reflection back to see yourself better, to situate yourself, so to see where you are at, and often see the difference between where you think you were at and how maybe everything is normal, and then realizing, oh, maybe there's a whole different way of me, there's a whole new being that's possible. And then therefore it allows you to take the next step from those lenses in much better alignment, much better guidance, right? And that's, I think, what every human being is looking for, is true purpose, alignment with soul, or with heart, with spirit, however you want to call it, and finding the way to do that while raising your kids and having a home and living in this world, right? Because it's not about going back to the past. It's about reading the present through wise lenses that allow us to take care of what's troubling us, and therefore the trouble of the world, right, as an extension, right?
It's very interesting. So if someone was to come to you and say they came to you for a healing session, what is there specific things that you'll say, right, no, sorry, I can't work with that? Or will you, I know healing happens on many levels, and it's not always like to heal of a condition. It can be to heal the body, the mind, the spirit. It can be to heal in many ways. Is it just like a one session somebody would come with you for a healing session, or would they kind of be like a succession?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can be both, because it really depends what you're coming from. Let's say you come because you just divorced and your life is really a mess, and you're coming out of a very difficult marriage, and maybe there was emotional abuse, or it was really difficult, and you're kind of lost in your life. That's not going to be resolved in 1 hour or 2 hours, right? But you might come because you've been dealing with grief for a long time, or you've been dealing with anger, or you've been dealing with confusion, or a lack of clarity on your path. And that's going to be the different things we're going to do in order to look at that, right?
Yeah.
I always ask people, obviously, what is going on? Why do you feel you want to see me, and why me instead of so many other options out there, right? There are many type of practitioners, and usually people are going to say, wow, my heart is broken, right? Or I lost my mother 6 months ago and I'm really struggling. Or my kids now are out of the home and they, living their own life and are
Empty nest.
I'm not
Yeah.
really sure what my life is about.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing, feeling of limitation. I don't really experience abundance. I don't really have money. I feel like I'm always like stretched with that. I don't experience this abundance in my life. So there are so many, but when people tell me one of those things, I already know which element in their body is imbalanced. What is the spirits, the animal, the trees, or that we need to work with? What is the practice that we can put in place to really shift, to heal themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's not a path where people come and I'm going to fix you because there's something wrong with you. It's more, I'm going to give you a tool to show you inside of you
Mm-hmm.
what you didn't see, where things went wrong because you didn't have the tools, you didn't have the map. And it's a path to really, for me, my healing session are more about empowering you, because I have no interest to see you every week for 10 years. I don't like that too. So, what I want is that, maybe in one session or 3 sessions or maybe over a few months that I give you the tools and you see radical change. Because if I give you a tool and you practice it and you see, wow, I had a client the other day, after a week, say, this anxiety I've had for 20 years is just gone. And she could not believe it, right? Because I gave her one very specific tool that works really well for people that have a lot of anxiety. And I explained her how to do it and, how to follow through on that. And now she has a tool, and that's a tool that she has for life, right? And because now she has less anxiety, she has more energy and clarity of mind.
Yeah.
She's more available to step into the world, right? So that has a ripple effect, right? So there are so many ways, for people to work. And sometimes people come and, have a year program where people work for a year with me or 5 months with me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You're drawn to, sorry, I was just going to finish about if you're drawn to a part of somebody's body intuitionally. You were saying you kind of know the part of the body where they need that help.
It's not an intuition, because I think a lot of people work with intuition, but you're reading it through your own map, and your own map might be different for that person. It's like a proven map that is not mine, that is collective, that is in the land, in the trees, in the mountains, in the rivers, that are instructions on how to take care of that. So when people say that, okay, I have this, I know where in the map they are, where they're lost, and I know the potential tools that they need to know in order to come back in alignment, right?
Yeah. I was having a little look on your website as well, and I know that you do. You can purchase some medicine from you as well online, which there was one I was particularly interested in, to be honest, and that was the one about sleeping, for people who don't sleep very well. How does that work? For any insomnia people that are out there like myself.
I think
does it work well, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have a line of supplements that's all organic and that I spent a long time, creating, and we sell that brand now, and it's doing really well. But you can't supplement your life out of your pain, right? Meaning what's creating, for example, lack of sleep or trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
It's not because you're lacking some supplements. Maybe if you're eating really bad food and things like that, right? And the supplements can help a lot. And people with the anxiety formula, for example, they get amazing results. But if there is something that's creating the anxiety, a misalignment with your path, a trauma that's not resolved, someone that you haven't forgiven for now 20 years, and that's creating in the background, sometimes unconsciously, that anxiety, a pill is going to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A supplement is going to fix that. So it can help temporarily, but I always tell people, listen, supplements are great. I take a lot of supplements myself because the quality of the food we have now is not as good as it used to be 100 years ago. And I think that can help your body. But what you want is also to address the root cause of that issue. So
Yes.
why is it that you have nightmares? Why is it that you can't fall asleep, right? And usually there is something in their life that needs attention, or in their body that needs attention, right? So it's never, a magic stick, right?
Yeah.
And you
That
often
makes
do that. It's
sense.
like, oh, I'm going to take that pill, or I'm going to get a reading, or I'm picking up a card in the morning. I say, that's great. All of that is amazing. But you need to address the core root of the pain.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're going to have to keep doing that again and again, and you're not going to really solve the reason why your body is screaming at you. There's a reason body screams. Body don't like to scream at us, don't like to be in pain, don't like to wake us up at night. But if they are doing it, it's to call us for paying attention to something that we might not know yet what it is, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. That's a great explanation for people listening. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. If you got a question there? I was going to ask something else.
I didn't want to jump in because Judith's trying to like zip that this week.
We're trying to share it.
The chatterbox takes over. So do you know what I love my journey. I really do love my journey, and Spirit have been helping me with the healing, and I'm just a conduit, and I go with the way they teach me and show me. But I know they've taught me that we must always heal from the root, more so in the spiritual before we can. The way they explained it to me was, if you put a plaster over the physical ailment, it's really like a plaster. You're only covering it. Whereas if you heal it from the root in the spiritual, the energetic body, that's where we need to go. Would that be?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean,
I'm not
it's
explaining it best.
first, it really depends what kind of issue we are talking about. One of the things that's very common, at least in most of the people I see and what I witness when I listen to people, is that we're not very much in our bodies. We're not really connected to our bodies. We don't feel most of it. And in that map, basically, the first step is to reconnect to the body in ways that you probably never connected to it, because your body not only contain your DNA and your ancestors, but also contain the subconscious, contain the link to the spiritual world. And if you're constantly out there, if you're constantly thinking, oh, somehow it's spirit out there, you're starting from far off instead of starting here. And that's why usually the problems keeps coming, right? I mean, you can have a beautiful prayer, and you can work with archangels, and you can work with your ancestors from a spiritual perspective, and that can provide a lot of guidance. But if I dig a little bit, I'm sure I'll find your pain that's still there. I'll find the core wound that's not being addressed, and very often it's just in the back because we are not going looking where it is, right? So obviously it's never black and white, right? I'm saying it's this or it's that, but my experience is that very often we might lie to ourselves about what's really going on. We kind of know there's something else we're not taking care of, and we get very busy with our work, our services, our offerings. And this is in the way of our medicine. This is in the way of us being a version of ourselves that is so much bigger than what we think we are and what we think we've already achieved, right?
Because we're always worrying about what's ahead, what we've got to do, different things, planning ahead, dates, bookings, whatever. And so we by the time your day has finished, it's really passed you by, hasn't it? And so I understand that. I can completely take that, because up until last Christmas, I actually was like that. And Alice, we've actually chatted about that. I was like that. Spirit kept trying to slow me down in different ways, but I was still keeping myself busy. And then I took ill, And after I took ill, I thought, right, I am slowing down. I'm going to slow down. And I very much have pulled back this year, but I've pulled back because I enjoy spending time with spirit, just with spirit, just sitting in time with spirit. But at the same time, I've realized that life passes us by if we don't take on board what's happening each day.
If I can just share something as well here, we have a guest that's got, if you're undergoing like hormonal change, such as a menopause, it can have a big impact on your sleeping pattern. I think what she's trying to say is if you don't have sort of underlying problems, like, you know, issues that are there, hormonal, how do you deal with the hormonal side of it with the menopause that does affect a lot of women?
I was
I mean,
sure there, and it was
yes, and totally. And that can be, you know, supplements that can help you, a type of food that can help you. Obviously, there is even, you know, doctors, holistic doctors that help with that.
Yeah.
But I think, for example, in that specific case,
Yeah.
I would love to address the maybe unspoken challenges of the change of the body, meaning that your mental realization of who you are is changing, right? I mean, you're getting into, it's a rite of passage, right? It's like going from being a kid to an adult. There's a rite of passage in traditional society, from going from adult to elders, right? And menopause is one of those stages. And this has a huge impact on our spirit, on how we see ourselves, right?
Yeah.
It has also, traditionally, this was a moment where you will change your role in the community, your role in the family, because you're becoming the grandmother or the elder, right? You're stepping from, well, I'm going to raise kids, and now, or maybe you're still raising kids, right? But you're preparing for a different stage. And in my experience, a lot of the emotional things that go on with it are partially hormonal, but also partially because we don't have the tool, or we don't address the narrative that needs to change of ourselves. We are dying to ourselves, to a new self, right? This is a new person. It's not just the cycle of the hormones that stop. We literally are going to change as a person. And if you don't have the tools to approach that, maybe emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, the challenge are going to be much bigger, and that's going to impact your physical body. That's going to impact even more your emotional change, right? If you don't have the tool to address that, if you don't know what to do with that, that might be a problem. And there's a beautiful spiritual perspective on that from the ancient wisdom perspective that brings, you know, new elders, new teachers, new guides to work with, a different way to relate to this beautiful body that is transforming. And very often pills or treatments, you know, don't offer that, right? They're good. I'm not saying they're bad, right? But they are.
I know. You need a combination. Yeah,
it's in combination, right? With all of that.
For me, I can't have all of those pills and medications. So if we were working with somebody who, before I come on, I was like this. So if we were working with someone who was going through the menopause but can't take the HRT, can't take, you know, the conventional medications to help them, it's basically, if I've got this correct or incorrect, please correct me. But is our mind and spirit fighting against the changes that we're going through? Is that what you're explaining? So it's adapting and accepting ourselves for who we are.
Yeah, in some way, I would say that we might carry belief about ourselves that are not valid, that are not correct. You know, and very often, you know, people are very clear about who they are and what to do, but it doesn't mean that's clarity. It might be confusion, but maybe they don't experience that like that. They see that's the way the world is. That's who I am, and that we call that, you know, fake clarity. In fact, it is confusion, because this is not in alignment really with what the ancient teaching are talking about, and that might be a way for you to change that belief, to relax the mind, which will relax the body, which will open the door to spirit in a way that allows you to embrace change, hold that change, make a beautiful container for that transformation you have to go through.
Yeah. Can I ask you, I was reading a little bit about Norse shamanism. What is that?
It's the ancient Celtic Norse shaman path from people from the north, what would be Norway and Sweden and, part of England in some ways, right? And that's connected to the Viking, and the Norse god are like Odin and Freya and all that, right?
Right.
But that's also, it's a Germanic also, so that path descending into Europe and Central Europe. And in fact, a lot of people that have ancestry somewhere in Europe have probably ancestors that were in connection to that medicine, to that cosmology of the Norse shamanic path. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I was going to ask as well, see if you came to you and you were like, do you do like trance kind of meditation as well, like where you can go really deep in? I mean, I do trance, Judith does it as well, deep meditations, but as a group, do you do something like where you just let go and just, go really deep in to your own body, mind and soul? Because I see a lot of that in some people's pages, and where they're kind of some are even dancing to music and things, and letting go of their, of their old, bring all the old stuff and bringing in the new. Do you do things like that?
Yeah, there are tools, and there are specific contexts where that is really useful, and we will call it more a shamanic journeying or altered state of consciousness, but altered state of consciousness are trance.
Yes,
which is basically things you experience when you're sleeping and you're dreaming. You are in a trance, right? You're not in your body anymore. You have no consciousness of the world, right? You're in a different reality. Even when you're daydreaming during the day, right? You're sitting, you're very relaxed, and then you're starting having those visions, those ideas. That's an altered state of consciousness. Yeah. And there are ways with certain rhythm patterns of drums, rattles, through dancing, certain way of dancing, to access that for traveling to specific world to retrieve specific wisdom. And that's where you will do, soul retrievals and code cuttings and shape shifting. There are many things you can do once you are in that state. And that can be deeply healing and deeply connecting to the soul, to the spirit.
Yeah. I have done it with the drums.
Yeah, that's usually the most common way is done with the drum.
Yeah.
The cosmology that you do, Angel. There was a few times when I do it's always the same specific meditation, shamanic meditation. When I do this specific meditation, it takes you into your heart, and every time it takes me into my heart, I'm in the cosmos. It's just that's what I see. It's just complete stars. It's like the Milky Way. What's happening there?
Well, that would be an upper world journey. It's like the branch of an upper world journey, going in the upper world. Okay. So this is the middle world. This is where we are right now, and you have an underworld and an upper world. Underworld is a place of the soul, and our spirit animals. Upper world is a place of the spirits, ancestors, and spirit guides, right? Yeah. But in a traditional culture, you will do a lot more underworld journey than upper world. I know people love spirits and love going up there. Yeah. But imagine a tree that have a lot of branches and very little roots, especially because we are not rooting in culture, in strong cultures. We're not rooted with land very much. Yeah. So in traditional culture, you will do a lot more underworld, because the underworld is where your soul is, not spirit, your soul, your path. What you came here to really solve about yourself, like what is it you need to learn and transform. And so those upper world, they can be very visual and beautiful, but traditionally you would probably do 2 or 3 underworld journey for one upper world. So if you have this amazing opening, you would make sure after that, in the next few weeks, you do a lot of underworld journey You bring the teaching down because it's just vision, and it's nice. But to be grounded in our bodies, to basically manifest in our life, you need to be brought down. You need to be seated in the land, in your roots, and you need to be in connection with your soul, right? We're going back there anyway. So that's often why it feels so good. It feels so good because we come from there and we're going back there. But it's not why we're here.
Well, now
the other that body, right?
The other ones I do, they take me through the forests and they take me into the cave and they sit with the animals, and so I do those as well. It was just this one specific meditation. When I do it, it just takes me to, and it's so, because it's only that one meditation that I've tried that does that.
Yeah, very often we connect to unity consciousness. We can connect to what we call God or the universe, or just this vibration and this light, where we're really not there anymore. We just dissolve in something really big and really beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's more, I usually tell people, don't interpret people's journeys because you're seeing it through your own lenses. Ask more about what it felt for you, what you gained from it, and how does this inform your life now? How is this shit? Because it's always about bringing it here, right? And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to be more loving and kind. Maybe you're going to forgive people. Maybe you're going to realize that, we're not really this. We're much more than that. So how is that going to inform your path, right, and your life?
Yeah. Well, you understand. Sorry. I was just going to say, you doing a lot of the grounding then, a lot of the land. That's interesting. Something to understand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm very interested as well, like with the animals, the connection with the animals, because and I'm sure other people understand this as well. I get the most peace and healing around animals. I love animals, all types of animals, and I'd be quite happy to spend a whole day with animals more than I am with a person. Because I don't know, there's this unconditional love, there's this healing you get, there's this connection that it's undescribable, that you receive. And I can understand why, you would work with the animals, and I know as an ex-nurse, I know in palliative care, they would always bring in a dog, a cat, or whatever, in palliative care. And the healing that the patients got from that. And I'll also tell you, there was many patients diagnosed that they would probably pass in 2 weeks' time, and lasted 2 months. And they always put all these different animals in, and the patients got so much healing from it. And I do believe, healing can be so natural. It can be so natural. It doesn't have to be, the way it is. So I know you connect with animals, and I know you do a lot with it. And I also know you do the bee sanctuary. How did that come around for you?
The bees, it was a vision I received, I don't know, 14 years ago now, maybe, I don't know, when I was hiking the Himalayas in Nepal. I went on a long hike for many, many weeks. And one day I was just sitting, it's a very strenuous hike. It's a long one and difficult. And I was just sitting, and there was those bees that were, on the flowers in front of me. And I got the message to create this organization. I got the vision for it, what it looked like, why to do it, and how to do it. And so when I came back to the US, I think 6 months later, I spent a lot of time in India and Nepal at the time. I created that organization to help protecting and educating people around the role of pollinators, not just honeybees, but bees in general. And I created the organization, which I've grown a lot since then. But it was really from that vision, right?
Yeah. It's funny how spirit do that as well. They give you a vision of something, and before you know it, it's blossomed into something quite remarkable.
Yeah.
I've noticed, Angel, and I didn't really, well, I did pick up on it, but I wasn't really paying as much attention to it probably as I should have until we were chatting tonight. And it's listening to you talking about nature and everything else. And lately I've been buying lots of root vegetables. Like even root vegetables I've never tried before. I've been buying them and trying them. So that's my body telling me to come back into the grounding.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's powerful.
It is, yeah. I'm being very good, and I'm buying them and I'm eating them. I'm being very healthy lately. Yeah, definitely. Miles will be really proud of me.
Have you got your book there, Angel? Have you got your book there?
Yeah, let me pick it up. It's
no
right
problem.
there. Yeah. Let me
no problem. That's great. Yeah. I was having a little look last night at the book, so it was The Sacred Web.
It's called The Sacred Web.
That's the one I was looking at last night. Yeah.
The Magical Craft of Your Shamanic Space. That's my first book. I'm almost done writing the second one, but this book is about how to create a sacred space and how to relate to a sacred space. You know, many people have altars or sacred space, but I wanted to kind of give, it's a small book. It's not very, very large, but it has a lot of little gems for making sure your sacred space stay alive. You know, sometimes we have this place where we pray or that we do our practice, and it kind of doesn't evolve with us or with the season or what's happening in the world. So it's to make it more alive, and also to learn how to use it not just for prayer or rituals or ceremonies, but also for journaling, for when you're looking for inspiration, for maybe life is troubling you with a question. How do we use the space for that? So that's why sacred web. How do we weave? That's the idea of sacred web. The space with ourselves, with what's going on for us, with the world, the season, the land, right? So that was published in January a year ago.
You can get it on Amazon. You can get it also
on Amazon. If you look for The Sacred Web, Angell Deer on Amazon, you can order it there all over the world.
Yeah, because I was looking at it last night and I thought that looks really interesting. I mean, you can get it on your Kindle as well, if you wanted to buy that. I like reading a book though.
Me too, because I like notes, and I don't read as much when it's on my Kindle.
No, I'm the same. I like reading it that way. You were talking about rituals as well. So what kind of rituals would you maybe do or recommend, or what happens with the rituals? I've never done a ritual before.
Why? It really depends. It's such a very broad question. It depends why do you want a ritual for?
I've never done any rituals. I don't know about you, Judith, but I've never done anything like that.
I've done the I can never say it. The cocoa bean, the cacao. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I've done that. I've just sat with that before I went to meditate. But do you know what I have done? And I've done it a few times, and it's really nice. Because I live beside the sea. So I'm only a few minutes from the beach. I've done it where I go down and sit and do a meditation on the bench, and it's really nice. I don't know why, it's just different with the sea air. It's really nice.
I love this. I love the water. I go with my crystals and I'll sit at the water. I'll sit at, I'm in Scotland, obviously, so I've got all the loch sides and also the sea as well. But I love to sit at the loch side and just with the water and hearing the waves of the water and sitting with my crystals and just closing my eyes and connecting with the spirit world. And to me, it's the best way ever to relax you and heal as well. If you've not been feeling very well, if you've been ill, to me, for me, it works for me. It works for me. Maybe not work for everybody, but I think, we've all got our own journey, haven't we? And we've all got our own thing that it does work for you. That's what makes us so special and different.
Yeah, I mean, we are creators of habit. So we love habits, right? And rituals are a way to basically bring something to the mind, to our attention, to our lives, that reconnect us usually to our spirit, our joy, our connection to our ancestor, our connection to land, our connection to animals and each other's. So if you don't have rituals, I always tell people, well, in fact, you have rituals, but they are rituals from the Western world.
Mm-hmm.
So you wake up and you make your cup of tea or coffee, and then you go there, and on that specific date, you do this, right? So we have a lot of them, but they are often not embedded into tradition or into things that are really useful for us, that really help.
Mm-hmm.
And so rituals are ways that we remind ourselves that we are more than we think we are, that there are, support for us in invisible world sometimes, and that we care for that through our ritual. We take time to connect to that through our rituals, right? Because if not, the world will become your ceremony, the world as it is. And maybe you'll start creating rituals that are a little bit different in order to shape something different for your life, right? So they are very important because of that.
Do you know, Angel, you can have kind of a ritual without knowing you're having a ritual. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Because I like to journal. I like to write everything down. I like to take notes.
Journaling every day is a ritual. Yeah.
But what I didn't realize I was doing at the time. So if I go back years and years, my guides kept saying to me, "Go back on your books. Go back to the stuff you've written." And it was only when I went back to look, I used to always find white feather somewhere in the house or be on tape. It was always somewhere. So when I went back in my books, I have white feathers glued to all my pages. But I help spirit, when I'm connected, I help loved ones receive a feather live. So when I'm doing a reading, they can receive that feather live during that reading or during the church service but I didn't put the two and two together until I went back, and all those years ago I had white feathers on all my pages.
That's beautiful.
And I never put the two and two together. So we can have rituals that we don't even realize we're doing.
Yeah, it could literally be for anything. Let's say you realize that you want, the winter season is good for that you want to connect more deeply to your ancestors. And you can start doing rituals, maybe once a week, every weekend, or, at the new moon, for example. That's a good time for it, to start connecting to your ancestors, right? And see what kind of ritual can be done. And because you do that regularly, the ancestors are going to hear it, and they're going to start coming into your life, right?
So for anybody listening that's quite new and not really sure, is there anything that you can give, like a wee simple exercise or simple suggestion for people to help them do so?
Do what? Connect to ancestors or rituals?
Connect to their ancestors.
Oh, well, the ancestors, so they are not in the visible world anymore, right? We're talking about people that have passed, and the winter season, in fact, the winter solstice, that's on December 21st, is like where the veil is very thin between this world and their world. So as we're descending now we're descending into the land. Now is not the time to go up. The whole world is going down into the roots, the trees, the birds, everything is going down, the energy. So we need to be in tune with that first. People are doing work that are not aligned with the planet, not aligned with the season, not aligned with the animals. And that's why, we get in trouble doing that work. So we need now to go down into our roots. So meaning looking inwards more, feeling our bodies more, because the body is the land. That's the physicality, right? And the health of the land is the health of the body. And the ancestors are deep down inside through our DNA, through epigenetics. So it starts putting on your altar this prayer. It's literally just voicing it. You talk to your ancestor and you say, I want to know you better. Very often when some people tell me, oh, I do a lot of ancestral work, and I ask them what they do, and they say, well, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I say, did you ask them what they want? Or are you just doing it because that's a good thing? So what's important, when you want to work with your ancestors, is to first get the connection by every day you sit and you say, hey, I'd love to have been in connection with you. And then when they show up in your field, in your dreams, in your prayers, what can I do to connect more with you? What do you need? And they might ask you to do a specific ritual. In fact, first time I reconnected to my ancestors long ago, they asked me to cook a dish that was done by my ancestors hundreds of years ago. They say, we want you to cook that food and eat it. So you can eat like us, experience what we were eating, and that will open the door to us. So sometimes, and that's what I mean by having an unexpected message when you ask. You're not coming with your mind. You're not coming with what you think you know, because that's usually not enough or wrong. You're coming with an open heart and say, teach me, show me the way. And that's the position of the student. You're always humbling yourself. You always go, I don't know. Because that's how you grow. That's how you learn, right? And then they're going to gift you a ritual. And maybe they're going to say, hey, on that date, and you might not know why, I don't know, December 5th, light a candle and put that incense or put that tree, put that, kind of things. And that's the way to honor us. And you might not know why. And then maybe 10 years down the line, you're going to read about an old book that had been found about your ancestors, and that's something they were doing. You want to listen, learn. You can't really decide, right? So turn towards it, ask them the question, and then follow through when they tell you to do something, right?
Yeah.
So push past that fear, even if it makes you nervous, still follow it and move forward.
Yeah, it's not about you, it's about your ancestors. So whatever you think about what they're telling you is irrelevant, right? If not, don't turn towards your ancestor, right? If you turn towards them, be ready to follow them. But you can't go to someone, like you can come to me and say, hey, I'd love to connect with you. And then decide that, you don't want to listen to me, right? If you and I want to connect, we need to talk a lot, right? Not more than get to know each other. So we need to open the conversation. And you do that with the ancestor. You do that with the tree. You do that with the land. You do that with your own soul, right? You need to go there with silence, with listening. Because that's how you're going to get information that's not in your mind, that you don't know about. That's how we learn and remember old songs, old rituals, and practices that the mind cannot reach on its own because it doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah. I think it would be lovely to go to one of your places as well. Go to the sanctuary, wasn't it? It would be lovely to go to the sanctuary. And
I have a lot of online classes. Many people do online work with me. I have a lot of on-demand classes you can take remotely and from the comfort of your home, because not everybody can travel to the US.
I didn't know you did online classes, Angel.
Yes, I have a few classes, but one of them is called Becoming the Mystic. I have the Sacred Purpose Blueprint, but, I have class to open those gifts, right? Where it's me teachings, right? And you can have also one-on-one with me if you want, but basically you can also do it on your own, where I share practices, very specific things to do, so you can start opening that medicine in you that is waiting.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that. Yeah, I'd seen it last night, and I thought, oh, you do online. I thought that's quite interesting.
I
do
follow you. I followed you for a while. I was very drawn to your page, and I think it was just I was meant to see it. I think I was meant to see it, but I do find it all fascinating. One of my guides, Chief Little Hawk, he comes with a black and white eagle, and I haven't done this meditation for a while, but I used to always do this particular meditation, and it was to meet my eagle. And whenever I would go into the meditation, my Andean guy, he was there, And I was like, oh, okay. So he would walk me around the mountain till we got to this big mountain. And there was my eagle, and it progressed. And every time I went into the meditation, there was an olive tree and my Indian. Then there was an ant and my Indian, an olive tree, and there was always something extra every time. And there was a one hump camel. And I can remember us playing, trying to change that and thinking, I don't think you can get a one hump camel. I think it's two hump camel. And I can remember us playing thinking, why are you saying one hump? And I did, okay, I realize it's real. But the more I did that, the more whenever I got to the top and connected with my eagle, I can remember the first time it happened, I looked down, my legs was talons. And I actually was that eagle. And it was mind blowing, absolutely brilliant. But it always made me giggle because every time I went into that meditation, there was something else. There was a scorpion. There was always something new there. So your eagles, I went flying with my eagle until I was one, and then I still went flying and then came back. But what is our eagles representing in the shamanic?
The eagle is sit in the west, and he's on his way to the upper world. Is connection to our waters.
The waters.
So he's the guardian of our water. So the eagle come to help us see clearly that there is confusion in our life. The eagles come to try us to say, hey, you're looking at the tree, take a higher view, and now you see the forest. So when you think the issue is that, well, that's where you need to go. When you have the eagle view, you see more clearly on your life, right? So they help you get out of confusion. All right, they help you, see from a different perspective. That's one of the medicine of the eagle. There are many others, but that's one of the gift that eagle medicine, if you really do deep work with that medicine, and deep work with animals takes decades to open, right? I'm talking very committed to that medicine. Eagle will teach you a lot more than that.
Yeah. Funny, when I went flying, it was all off the mountain, but always over water. Actually, it was always over like a lake.
Yeah, it's the guardian of the water. Many people think, obviously, eagle are not, water birds, but they go on a river to fish. That's what they eat. So they're always flying above the water. So they always see the clear reflection of the water. That's the clarity prayer. They are the guardian of the water, right? And the water that are troubled, the water that are muddy, that's confusion. That's the water are not clear, right? And that's our emotions. The water is our emotions. So what is not clear there? What needs purification? What do I don't see yet, right? Because there is something we don't see yet, and just asking that medicine to start showing us more clearly into our waters, right?
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Sorry, can I ask, what's the sanctuary like? What is it like if you were coming to visit? Is it got accommodation?
No, we don't have accommodation, but it's a very large piece of land with temples and gardens for food, gardens for medicinal plants. There's animals. We grow mushroom. We grow a lot of different things on the land, right, to serve what we're doing. There's a fire circle. There is a women chapel. There are many things to reconnect with ourselves on that land.
What's the women chapel? What's that?
It's a chapel that Mother Mary asked me to build 10 years ago in a vision. She's like, she just came in a vision and said, you need to build me a chapel. And I was like, okay. And I kind of didn't really want to do it, and then he kept coming back, and then she started explaining why I need to build it. So I built a chapel on the land for the divine feminine. So it's a chapel that's just for women.
Yes.
And I don't go in it. I just go, I clean, and I get out, basically.
Yeah.
But it's a chapel that the side wall of the chapel, not the entrance door and the back of it, but all the sides are just glass.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting in the chapel, you're in the forest at the same time.
Lovely.
You're with the land, right?
That's
and
lovely.
we, people go for prayer, for connection. Many women have come during their cycle, during their moon, when they're bleeding, to feel connected to the divine feminine, to themselves. So yeah, it's a place of connection to their higher self, the feminine self, right?
Mm-hmm. That
And
sounds absolutely wonderful.
do you run the retreats all year round, or?
Yes, pretty much, yes, yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting, isn't it? So you talk about the land and everything else. So, and I know we talk about, you know, going on the shamanic journeys, but we've asked different people. Well, we've asked different people who've worked with spirit and their spiritual side in different ways. The land can give you medicines that you can buy on prescription, but they can give you them in natural form in different ways. But to reach that altered state of awareness, if you were doing any like practices, or would you eat anything that would help take you to that awareness? Is that part of?
You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to. I know people love those things, but
I'm
believe,
curious.
and
There's a
they
lot of
can.
people do.
Yeah, it can be useful, but I really believe the more I've been moving through my path, that we have extraordinary capacity to connect if we know what to do and how to do it. We just have forgotten, or we don't have elders. Most people are not connected to elders, which to me sounds crazy. How do you learn if you don't learn from people that hold this tradition for thousands of years? And there are tools, there are ways, right? And then when you learn that and you do it, it works, because those people have been doing it not because they believe in it, because it works. So there are ways, to learn how to do that through that perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're an ordained minister.
Yes.
What took you down that path?
It was to be able to marry people, because a lot of people want to have a more shamanic, connected to land, connected to ancestor marriage ceremonies. I've been asked to do, I do baby blessings and things like that. So it was in order to be able to do more official ceremonies, but with also the angle of my path, right? Of those teachings, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So you do wedding ceremonies. Do you do funeral ceremonies as well?
Yeah, I do regularly. People call me because someone passed, and they usually do a traditional, a Western thing, right? And people come and visit, but then they say, hey, with the family, we'd love to have a more traditional ceremony to help the person transition, to heal what's going on in the family, and things like that. So that's often what we do, right?
What does that look like, Angel? A shamanic funeral?
It's really, there's a fire that is involved, a sacred fire. There's a way to prepare the fire and to work with the fire that open that connection to ancestor. And then there are specific rituals, elements that allow the people that are experiencing the loss, well, usually the whole family, but let's say the wife that is still there, or the kids, right? To understand what's happening and to navigate it really well, right?
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any words of wisdom or inspiration for our audience that's listening to you just now? Because as you know, there's a lot going on in our world. There's a lot of insecurity, and there's a lot of fears, and I think it's good, when we can all gather together with love, and we can perhaps share something to our world to just put that little bit of sparkle back into somebody's life again.
Yeah, first, like you say, I think it's good to recognize that we live in a world that's in a lot of pain, that is struggling, that is very chaotic, because chaos is a force of destruction for something new to be born. Mm-hmm. And that there is a lot of energies and spirit, and therefore people that are involved in the chaos, and that wants this to be very painful. Yes. And that all of us, because we're all connected, we are going to have this influence in us. We're going to be influenced by that. We're going to feel the pain. We are going to be angry. We are going to feel separation. We're going to judge. And so the medicine for this time is to be very grounded, to be very centered on the self.
Mm-hmm.
And we have such a well of wisdom inside, but we need to cultivate that connection, right? But for the years to come, and the decades to come, but especially the years to come, it's not going to get easier.
No,
And
I know.
I think it's really important to have the tools, the practices, and the support that you need in your life in order to go through that in a way that, I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging, but that you can go through it with some light, some level of ease, right? And you can, grieving and watch TV and feel that what you're seeing is atrocious, and at the same time also carry some light and love and hope, right? But you need to cultivate that, because it's very easy to be dragged into darkness, to
Of course it is.
to feel hopeless, right? To feel like we can do nothing because those are such huge problem. But in fact, it's our disconnection from this light that's creating the problem. So, really focus on that and healing yourself. Healing yourself. That's really the job, right?
And as you say as well, it can be challenging, but where there's challenging, there's growth, and you're right, because there's so much going on in our world. We do need to start thinking about reconnecting with the real inner us, the real soul, the us, the real us, in us, because I always believe, our body is, we're spirit, but we're living in a physical body, and we're here for experience. We're here to learn and grow, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, but it's, yes, it's very challenging. Yeah.
It is. It is. And it's going to be challenging for everyone, right? But we have to be a little bit like a lighthouse in the storm, right? Lighthouse, they are very grounded. We're going to feel the storm. There's no way we cannot feel it. If we're not feeling it, if we're not challenged, we're probably not very connected to the collective, and that's not a good sign. So it's okay to feel the pain because it informs us what to do, but it's important to have the tools that allow to process that and to still see clearly, to see really what's happening and what is the way, right? What is the next step that is maybe better than what I think, I'm told to do, right? Or to believe in.
It's strange because when you look on certain social media platforms, you'll see, I've noticed a lot of people saying, I don't watch the news anymore. I don't watch this, and I don't take anything to do with that. They've really cut everything out. But what they're doing is they're not acknowledging and they're not connecting with what's happening. So they're not expressing their views and their feelings. So they're not getting to really live in the proper full present, because they feel that they should stop all that, because that's what you're saying is it's okay to have a feeling on what's happening. It's okay to feel that pain, what's happening in the world, rather than everything out.
I think it depends.
When you feel something, let's say you see someone suffering or a lot of people suffering, and you're feeling, really angry about it, it means you're human. You're connected to your humanity. And even if you feel rage and anger about it, right? It means you are human, right? Now, if you're constantly angry and it paralyzes you and it makes you sick, that's not good, right? So I think feeling the fire, feeling what's going on, and then inquiring about why is this happening? What did go wrong? And what can I do at my level to heal myself? Because we all carry seeds of pain. We all carry seeds of hate. We all carry seeds of anger, right?
Yeah.
But we need to treat it, knowing it's part of being human, and what it is I can do to stay grounded, to stay centered, to stay open when everything tells me to close my heart.
Yeah. I think it depends on the individual, because I've had that said to me as well. I don't watch the news, or I don't, and I think, people are trying to protect themselves as well, with their own mental health, because not all what's said in the news is true. There's a lot of false information out there, that can be very scary for people who perhaps are suffering from mental health, you know. So I mean, it could be just a way of them. I think if it works for them.
Yeah. I mean, first, you know, it's like in the plane, right? You put your oxygen mask on you first before the others, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not well, you have to take care of yourself first. You can't help nobody, the world, your family, your children, if you're not well, right?
Yeah.
So you have to learn, and that might mean, disconnecting completely to find your center and then returning, right? Once your mask is working, once you feel better, you return, right? It's not about staying with the mask in your cave.
Yeah.
But yeah, for many people, you're right. I think, you know, between, you know, COVID and all that happened, people are not well. You know, people have been disconnected a lot and feeling a lot of stress because of the environment, the economy, and many other things. And I think, yeah, it's very hard for our bodies to process all that, for sure.
Yeah.
Very true.
Well, I would like to thank you for coming on the show. It's been absolutely amazing having you.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoyed your time with us as well.
I did.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
It
So
was
much.
lovely. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Alice and Judith, for having me here today. What a pleasure.
Yeah, you're welcome.
To talk some more than another time. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been great having you on. So before we leave the show, have you got anything at all, Angel, that's coming up that you would like to share with the listeners?
Well, we have something that coming up all the time, which is our program for stepping into our purpose and healing in depth what has been healed for decades sometime in us, to find joy back in life. That's the Sacred Purpose Blueprint program, you know, and people can find more on my website about it. There's a free webinar with some good advice on it that people can watch for free. And then if people feel like, you know, hey, this is you know, I don't know, I like the vibe, I like what I'm hearing, and I'm feeling, you know, I need to learn and to heal more deeply, that reach out. You know, there's a way to book a call with me at the end of the webinar if you feel like I'm interested and I'm ready to do this work, because, you know, we're in this crazy time and we need to do our work now. If you ask me, I think the next few years are really important, that we all step more closely into our path and purpose, and heal whatever is preventing us to do that.
Yeah. And is this online, Angel? Is this online?
Yeah, the Sacred Purpose Blueprint program is online. It's a 12 to 16-week programs where you have me as a one-on-one coach every step of the way. So I get you through the whole transformation. So we get you to that good place, that better place where you should be.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm sure I seen that last night. I'm sure that was one of the ones I seen last night.
Yeah, in fact, I have a lot of clients that are from UK. Somehow, you know, I have a lot of clients in the program right now that are ladies that are from UK. Yeah.
I'll have another look at it as well. So that's good. A little bit of information out there, and I've also put contact details up there for you as well for anyone to contact you. What about yourself, Judith? Have you got anything coming up that you'd like to share as well?
I'm doing a service tomorrow evening for the Circle of Light Spiritualist Church. I'm doing that. Through the week, I'm busy with just private work, but prophetic news. We didn't get it recorded and out yet, but it will be recorded and it'll be out on Monday night, Tuesday day, UK time. It'll be out.
What time is that on again?
Well, we're hoping to publish it about 7-8 p.m. About 8-9 p.m. on Monday night. It'll either be late Monday evening or it'll be Tuesday morning. But that'll be episode 12. That'll be out. So yeah, be interesting to see what it said. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Right, so for myself, I have got Saturday, 12th of October, The Language of Spirit. I'm doing a demonstration at 6:30. No, I'm not. I'm doing a demonstration at 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock till 8. But everybody can join at 6:30 and it's online. So I'm doing a mediumship demonstration then. And I've also got coming up back home in Scotland, because that's online. Back home in Scotland, I've actually got the Halloween special night, and it's with myself and another medium called Angell. and the tickets will be purchased through Eventbrite or through my own email, alicetravoro@gmail.com. Anyone also who would like to be a guest onto the show, please could you send your bio with details, and I'll have a look at it. I know a lot of people have been, and I'm getting back to some people, but it will be definitely later on in the year, next year, this year. Yeah.
This Saturday, Inner Peace, you're with Inner Peace this Saturday.
Yeah, that's the one I just mentioned. Yeah, Saturday, 12th of October. Yeah, that was the one I mentioned. It starts at 7 o'clock till 8. Yeah. Okay, so so I think that's me for this week. Next week we're actually back on, and we're starting season 4. We're starting season 4 next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course, we do appreciate if you will please like and subscribe to the channels as well on Spotify and on YouTube as well. And the details I've been putting on there. We've got quite a few places that we are at. We're all over the place, but at the moment there's YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Radio Public, TuneIn, Podchaser. But the most important thing would be the YouTube channel, please. If you could subscribe, and Spotify, it just helps us grow. It helps us grow. And that's what life's all about, learning and growing. So we would appreciate your help on that, please.
Angell Deer, you have a YouTube channel, do you not?
I have a YouTube channel. People can go on my website and find it, or you just look for, Angell Deer on YouTube, and we have a really big channel. We have weekly wisdom shares videos about shamanic paths every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. It's like your church time. So instead of going to church, you can go to church and then you can watch our video, or you can just watch the video, whatever is your medicine. And every Sunday we share a new talk.
Yeah, you've got a podcast as well, is that right?
Yeah, we've got a pretty big podcast, on iTunes or Spotify.
It's all on your all on your website anyway.
It's on my website.
So all the links are on that, and I've shared your links on here as well. So that's grand. So I don't think there's much more to say other than really thank you for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, and for everybody else out there as well, please remember, it's important that you look after yourselves and also look after each other too. And until next week, I would like to say thank you, and have a lovely week, and all our love from Spark of Light Spiritual Chat Show.